The first burst that broke doctrine. April 14, 1943. 26,500 feet over Bremen, Germany. The air is thin enough to sting the lungs even through the oxygen mask. Frost feathers creep along the inside edges of the plexiglass nose, crawling like white veins toward the center. Below, the North Sea fades into a hard gray line, and ahead, the German coast sharpens into focus. Engines thunder in disciplined unison, for right cyclones per aircraft, each propeller biting the cold sky. The bomber stream stretches for miles, silver B-17s holding tight formation, wings nearly overlapping in the brittle morning light. Inside one of them, tail number 4231,277, the men are already tense. Captain Robert H. Mallory, aircraft commander, grips the yoke with gloved hands. His eyes flick between the artificial horizon and the formation ahead. To his right, First Lieutenant James Collins, co-pilot, murmurs engine readings, fuel flow steady, manifold pressure holding. The interphone crackles with clipped voices, each man sealed into his position like a component in a machine that cannot afford failure. In the top turret, Technical Sergeant William Hawks rotates slowly, twin .50 caliber Brownings tracking empty sky. He has flown 11 missions now. Long enough to know the patterns. Long enough to feel the weight before the storm. The German fighters do not rush in anymore. They circle. They climb above the formation, hang back beyond official engagement range, watching. Doctrine says do not fire until you see the whites of their markings, until the enemy commits to an attack run. Ammunition is precious. Discipline is survival. Hawks does not agree. He leans forward, forehead almost touching the sight. His breath fogs the glass despite the cold. He sees them now, specks growing into shapes, Messerschmitt Bf 109 sliding into position high and slightly ahead, sunlight glinting off their wings. They are too far. Everyone knows it. Too far to score hits. Too far to justify fire. Hawks flips the safety off anyway. Mallory hears the click through the interphone. He stiffens. His jaw tightens. Before he can speak, the turret erupts. The Brownings hammer the air, long controlled bursts ripping forward into the empty sky. Tracers arc out, bright orange beads stitching a warning line across the fighter's path. The recoil vibrates through the fuselage, rattling instruments, shaking teeth. Spent casings clatter down the chute like rain on tin. Several heads snap up across the formation. In a nearby bomber, a waist gunner swears into his mask. In another, a pilot curses Hawks by name. Command has been clear about this. Early fire wastes ammunition. It reveals position. It invites retaliation. But the fighters react. The Messerschmitts break. Not sharply, not in panic, but enough. They slide away from the approach vector, forced to maneuver earlier than planned. Their tight geometry dissolves. The clean line of attack never forms. More fighters appear. Focke-Wulf 190s this time, heavier, faster. Hawks keeps firing, measured bursts, sweeping slightly ahead of their noses, forcing them to adjust again and again. He is not trying to hit them. He is fencing with them. In the nose, Bombardier Second Lieutenant Alan Pierce presses his face to the Norden sight, but his eyes keep drifting up. He watches tracers pass overhead, hears the distant crack of other guns joining in. A ripple of early fire spreads along the formation as other gunners follow Hawks' lead. Mallory keys the interphone. His voice is tight. Hawks, cease fire. You are outside engagement range. There is a pause. Then Hawks replies, calm, almost casual. Sir, they are lining up. If we wait, they will come straight through. Mallory hesitates. He sees the fighters weaving now, unable to settle, unable to hold a straight line long enough to aim properly. He thinks of the last mission, of the bomber that took a 20mm shell through the cockpit because the fighters had time to line up their shot. Below, flak begins to bloom, black puffs rising lazily at first, then thickening into a jagged ceiling. The formation tightens. The sky fills with noise, with movement, with threat. The fighters make another attempt. Hawks fires again, longer this time. The tracers cut across the approach like a drawn blade. A Bf-109 rolls hard, overshoots, slides down and away. Another never commits at all. No enemy round strike 42-31277. No cannon shells punch through aluminum. No cockpit fills with smoke. When the fighters finally pull off, circling wide, searching for easier prey, Mallory exhales slowly. He does not praise Hawks. Not yet. Later, after landing back in England, after counting holes in other aircraft and noting which crews did not return, the intelligence officer will frown at the ammunition tallies. Hawk's turret will be flagged. Command will call it reckless. Undisciplined. Against doctrine. But today, at 26,500 feet over Bremen, every man aboard 42-31277 is alive. And the bombers are still in formation, pressing on toward the target. Patterns in the cold sky. The bomb run comes and goes in a blur of vibration and shouted numbers. Bomb bay doors yawn open, releasing a roar of wind that claws through the fuselage. Pierce calls the final seconds, his voice steady despite the flak bursting closer now, black clouds jolting the aircraft with concussive thumps. Then the bombs are gone, the aircraft lurching upward as the weight falls away. On the long turn for home, the fighters return. This time they come in pairs, sliding down from above, testing angles, searching for a bomber that hesitates or drifts out of line. Hawk sees it before anyone else. He always does. His turret tracks continuously now, not snapping from target to target, but flowing, predicting where a fighter wants to be rather than where it is. Again he fires early. Not wildly. Not continuously. Short bursts, then longer ones, timed to the moments when the fighters need steadiness most. Every burst forces a correction. Every correction bleeds speed and aim. Across the interphone, reactions are mixed. The left waist gunner, Staff Sergeant Eddie Morales, laughs once, sharp and breathless. Keep 'em dancing, top. The radio operator, Technical Sergeant Frank Lyle, is quieter. Bill, you are burning ammo fast. Hawks does not answer. He is counting in his head. He knows how much he has left. He also knows how much damage a single clean attack run can do. When they cross back over the coast, the fighters peel away for good. The flak fades. The sky opens into long empty miles of cloud and sea. Only then does Mallory finally speak again. Good work up there, he says carefully. We will talk about it later. The talk comes 2 days later. In a briefing hut that smells of damp wool and stale coffee, Hawk stands at attention before a captain he has never flown with. A chalkboard behind the officer shows diagrams of attack cones and engagement ranges. Lines are drawn. Rules are underlined. You fired outside doctrine, the captain says flatly. You expended nearly 20% more ammunition than average. That is unacceptable. Hawks listens. He does not argue. He has learned that arguing does not change minds. The captain continues. If every gunner fired like you did, we would run dry before the real attacks began. Mallory is present, seated along the wall. He says nothing yet. Then the intelligence officer clears his throat. He flips a page on his clipboard. Sir, the loss figures from Bremen. The room stills. We lost 3 aircraft, the officer says. Average loss for a target like Bremen is 6 to 8. He glances at another sheet. The aircraft with the highest ammunition expenditure sustained 0 fighter damage. Silence stretches. The captain frowns, but says nothing more. Hawks is dismissed with a warning. Not a reprimand. Not praise. A warning that his actions will be watched. Watched they are. Over the next month, 31,277 flies again and again. Kiel. Wilhelmshaven. Hamburg. Each mission follows the same pattern. Fighters assemble. Hawks fires early. The fighters maneuver sooner, attack in fragments, break off more often. Other crews notice. In the mess hall, men lean closer, voices low. Did you see Hawk's turret yesterday? He lit them up before they even turned in. They never got a clean run. A ball turret gunner from another crew tries it on the next mission. His bursts are too long, too wild. He empties belts with no effect. His bomber takes hits anyway. Hawks watches from his turret as another B-17 drops out of formation trailing smoke. He does not feel vindicated. Only grim. Early fire is not the trick, he explains later to Morales while cleaning his guns. Timing is. You are not trying to kill them. You are trying to ruin their math. Morales nods slowly. He thinks he understands. By mid-May, bomber group statistics begin to shift. It is subtle. Not dramatic. A few percentage points fewer losses. A handful more damaged aircraft making it home instead of disappearing into clouds. Command notices numbers before it notices men. A major from group headquarters arrives to observe a mission firsthand. He rides in the radio room, helmet too new, eyes darting at every burst of gunfire. He flinches when Hawks fires early, scribbling notes furiously. On the ground afterward, he questions everyone. Pilots. Gunners. Engineers. Why do the fighters keep breaking early, he asks. Mallory answers simply. Because we do not let them get comfortable. The major nods, unconvinced but intrigued. Doctrine does not change overnight. But questions begin to circulate. Memos are written. Phrases like suppressive fire and disruption of attack geometry appear quietly in margins. In the sky, Hawks keeps doing what he has always done. Watching. Predicting. Firing not at where the enemy is, but at where he needs to be to kill. Each mission ends with more bombers crossing the English coast intact. Not all. Never all. But more than before. And among the crews, something else changes. Fear sharpens, but it no longer freezes. The fighters are still deadly, but they are no longer unchallenged while they set up their shots. They are being rushed. When numbers begin to speak. June 21, 1943. 28,000 feet above the Ruhr Valley. The sky is crowded now. Summer has brought clearer days, and with them, bigger raids. The bomber stream looks endless, a slow-moving river of aluminum flowing straight into the heart of Germany. With the scale comes confidence, but also sharper enemy response. The Luftwaffe has adapted before, and no one doubts it will again. Hawks rotates his turret through a full circle, scanning. The sun is higher today, glare washing the upper sky. He narrows his eyes, searching for movement against movement. There. High 12 o'clock. Small group. Fast. He fires before anyone else speaks. The bursts are shorter now. Refined. The tracers barely extend beyond where a fighter would normally begin its dive. The effect is immediate. Two fighters split apart, one climbing, one dropping, neither able to commit. Across the formation, other turrets answer, not in panic, but in coordination. It is not official. No order has been given. But gunners have been watching Hawks. They have learned the rhythm. Mallory feels it from the cockpit. The way attacks come in broken, staggered. The way fewer cannon shells slam home. He does not smile. He stays focused. But he notices. After the mission, the debriefing room hums with a different tone. Charts are tacked up. Loss columns are shorter. Damage reports show fewer nose penetrations, fewer cockpit hits. Fighters still claim bombers, but not with the efficiency they once did. A colonel from 8th Air Force headquarters appears at the back of the room, listening. He does not interrupt. Later, Hawks is called in again. This time, the atmosphere is different. No chalkboard. No raised voice. Explain what you are doing, the colonel says. Hawks chooses his words carefully. He speaks of timing. Of angles. Of forcing early corrections. He describes fighters as hunters who need a steady moment to strike. Take that moment away, he says, and you take away their teeth. The colonel nods slowly. He asks about ammunition. Hawks answers honestly. You burn more. But you save airplanes. There is a pause. Then the colonel says, we will test it. The test comes 2 weeks later. A mixed formation. Some crews briefed to maintain strict doctrine. Others quietly told to use early suppressive fire at gunner discretion. The target is Kassel. The Luftwaffe responds aggressively. Observers note the difference immediately. Where early fire is used with discipline, attacks fragment. Where doctrine holds rigid, fighters line up cleanly and strike hard. Losses reflect it. No announcement is made. No proclamation. But an appendix appears in the next gunnery circular. Language is careful. Conditional. Under specific circumstances, gunners may engage earlier to disrupt coordinated attacks. It is not Hawk's name on the paper. It never is. In the air, the effect is profound. By late summer, bomber crews begin to believe something new. Not that they are safe. They never are. But that they have agency. That they can shape the fight instead of enduring it. Hawks continues to fly. Mission 20. Mission 21. The strain shows. His hands ache. His eyes burn. Sleep comes in fragments. On Mission 22, over Schweinfurt, a fighter ignores the early fire. It pushes through anyway. Cannon shells rake the wing. Fuel sprays. Alarms scream. Hawks fires again, closer now. A burst walks into the fighter. It snaps away trailing smoke. The bomber limps home on 3 engines. It makes it. On the ground, mechanics shake their heads. Another few seconds, one says, and you would not have. That night, Hawk sits alone on his bunk, cleaning his guns by lamplight. He counts rounds. He counts missions. He thinks of the men who will fly tomorrow. He does not think of doctrine. The cost of proving it right. August 17, 1943. 29,000 feet over Schweinfurt, Germany. The sky is deceptively clear. Too clear. Visibility stretches forever, and that means everyone can see everyone else. The bomber stream is enormous today, layered formations stacked like a moving city. The target is critical. The enemy knows it. Every man aboard understands this will be different. Hawks feels it in his stomach before he sees it. The first fighters appear in numbers he has never witnessed before. Not pairs or flights, but waves. Dozens of specks resolving into aircraft, some above, some level, some already climbing through the formation from below. This time, early fire does not shock them away. It only signals the start. Hawks opens up anyway. Short bursts first, then longer, sweeping fire that forces the lead elements to scatter. But behind them come more. And more. The air fills with intersecting tracer lines, American and German, crossing and recrossing like glowing threads. Cannon shells detonate against fuselages. AB-17 two positions left takes a hit in the cockpit and pitches violently downward. Parachutes bloom seconds later. Not enough. Mallory fights the controls as the formation compresses, bombers edging closer for protection even as damage accumulates. The interphone becomes a chaos of reports. Right waist is hit. Ball turret is jammed. Oxygen line is cut. Hawks keeps firing. His turret motors whine as he tracks, stops, reverses. Sweat freezes along his collar. His ammunition counters drop faster than he wants to see. A group of fighters lines up dead ahead, committing fully. Hawks fires early, forcing them to break, but one holds longer than the rest. Too long. The burst catches it late. The fighter explodes just beyond the nose, fragments rattling against the plexiglass like thrown gravel. The shock wave rocks the aircraft. In the cockpit, Mallory blinks hard. For a moment, he cannot see. They press on. The bomb run is hell. Flak is accurate now, heavy bursts detonating at formation altitude. The bomber shakes continuously, as if gripped by unseen hands. Pierce calls the drop through clenched teeth. The bombs fall. On the turnout, the fighters attack again. Hawks glances at his ammo. He is low. Lower than ever before at this point in a mission. He makes a choice. He stops firing. The fighters see it immediately. Two of them begin to line up, noses steady, wings level. This is what they want. The clean shot. Hawks waits until the last possible second. Then he fires everything he has left in one final, brutal burst. The tracers tear through the space the fighters need to occupy. One breaks away sharply. The other takes hits and rolls inverted, falling out of sight. The guns fall silent. For the rest of the journey home, Hawks tracks but cannot fire. He calls out contacts instead, his voice hoarse but steady. Other gunners cover his arcs. They understand. When they land back in England, the losses are staggering. Dozens of aircraft do not return. The airfield feels hollow, quiet in a way that no victory briefing can mask. Command reviews everything. Charts. Timelines. Ammunition usage. Loss locations. The analysts notice something buried in the numbers. Aircraft that maintained early suppressive fire until ammunition exhaustion survived at higher rates than those that conserved strictly and faced full-strength attacks late in the mission. It is not decisive. Nothing ever is in this war. But it is enough. A revised gunnery bulletin circulates weeks later. Language is firmer now. Coordinated early fire to disrupt enemy approach is authorized when conditions warrant. Emphasis is placed on discipline and timing. Again, no names are mentioned. Hawks flies his 25th mission in September. His tour is complete. He steps off the aircraft and feels older than he did when he left the ground. Before he transfers stateside, a young gunner approaches him near the revetments. Barely 20. Eyes sharp with fear and curiosity. "How do you know when to fire?" the gunner asks. Hawks thinks for a moment. "When they stop flying like hunters and start flying like targets," he says. The gunner nods, not fully understanding. Not yet. As Hawks boards the truck that will take him away from the line, another formation roars overhead, climbing into the morning sky. Guns glint. Turrets rotate. Somewhere among them, early fire will crack the air. And more bombers will come home than would have before. When survival becomes doctrine. October 9, 1943. 25,000 feet over the North Sea. The formation is smaller than the Great Summer Raids, but it moves with a confidence that did not exist months earlier. Gunners scan aggressively now. Turrets are alive, constantly adjusting, overlapping arcs, covering space instead of waiting for shapes to fill it. Hawks is not here anymore. In his place, in the top turret of a different B-17, sits Staff Sergeant Thomas Keller. He has heard the stories. Everyone has. They talk about a gunner who never waited, who forced fighters to fight on his terms. Keller does not know the man. But he knows the method. As the first dots appear in the distance, Keller feels the familiar tightening in his chest. Doctrine has changed on paper, but fear has not changed in the body. He fires early. The Brownings thunder, and tracers cut shallow arcs into the sky. The fighters react exactly as described. They slide off axis, lose alignment, break formation. Keller adjusts, fires again, not chasing, not spraying. Just enough. In the cockpit, the pilot does not question it. No one does now. Across the 8th Air Force, the effect compounds. Losses do not disappear, but patterns shift. Fighters are forced to attack from poorer angles. More bombers limp home damaged instead of vanishing. More crews survive to fly again. Intelligence officers note it in careful language. Gunnery instructors incorporate it quietly. Veteran gunners pass it down in murmured advice before missions. Do not wait for permission. Do not empty your belts. Make them move. Back in the United States, Hawks reads about the war in newspapers that never mention his name. He works in a factory for a time, then trains new gunners. He teaches them the mechanics first. Then, when the classroom empties, he teaches them the rest. You are not guarding metal, he tells them. You are guarding time. Every second you steal from the enemy is a second your crew stays alive. Some listen. Some do not. War will decide. By early 1944, long-range escorts begin to appear more consistently. P-51 Mustangs take the fight further from the bombers. The balance shifts again. But the lesson remains. Air combat is not only about accuracy. It is about denial. About refusing the enemy the conditions he needs to kill you. Years later, after the war ends, analysts reviewing survival data notice something curious. A distinct improvement begins before escort coverage becomes reliable. Before technology changes. Before tactics are officially rewritten. It begins when gunners stop waiting. Command once called it reckless. Wasteful. Undisciplined. But the bombers came home intact more often than they used to. And in the cold, thin air over Europe, that was the only measure that mattered.